And I stopped coaching. I stopped any formal coaching because every coach told me I was paying too much. I was giving things away. I wasn't, I was too generous with the splits. I was too, I wasn't making the team do enough for me. And I thought, that's just not how it's going to be for me.
I've discovered that doing this podcast for over 2 years now, that agents more often than not are leaving money on the table, and it's not the areas of the business that you would traditionally think. More often than not, their marketing is not as strong as it could be, and it's more specifically to the people that already know them. And within that, it's marketing and sharing ways and areas that they can also provide help and support to clients, meaning more often than not, clients need to do normal maintenance to their homes annually, and they just don't know who to call. They don't know the best painter. They don't know the best roofer. They don't know the landscaping people. Additionally, I have also found that clients don't know, unless we share with them, that we can help them find a partner agent in other markets. Sometimes they're looking for a vacation home. Sometimes they're looking to relocate. But more often than not, I have found that their family members are looking to either downsize or maybe sell off a family member's home who's no longer with us, and they just don't know who to go to. And so by implementing that into your marketing, it could build into another leg of your business. Within that, building out your referral network early is paramount. And Andy Bovender has been a phenomenal support of this podcast, and him and his team have done over 5,000 transactions in the Carolinas. Meaning, if you have a client who's been thinking about buying and selling a property in that area, they are a phenomenal resource for you there. That said, he's also the sponsor of this podcast, and I deeply appreciate all that he's done on that side. And so with that, this episode is with Julie Grace Burke, who is a dear friend, and she is out of Greenwich, Connecticut, my home state. And we really talk about and dig into what it means to be a luxury agent, how to get into that sector, and some of the myths behind it. And she just flat out dispels a lot of them, which I value and appreciate that about her. Additionally, I really got to know her through the Inner Circle group. It's a core group of agents. A lot of them are past guests. We meet twice a month and we talk shop. We share business strategies. We coach each other. And then we also, to talk about referrals a little bit more, we share those opportunities as they come up. So if you want to learn more about that, there is a wait list, but in the description below, you'll find the link and you can add your name to the list. With that, I'm your referral partner out of San Francisco, Shawn Kunkler. We're live. Let's roll.
Okay.
How are you?
Game on.
Our pre-talk was so good that I'm like stoked to do this. I know. I never hit record soon enough. Julie, I want to dive headfirst into this. But really quick to get the listeners up to speed. In a couple sentences, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Julie Grace Burke. I am the founder of a tiny team. There's only me and one other licensee and then some support people in Greenwich, Connecticut. I do Old Greenwich, Riverside, and Costco. They all fall under Greenwich. All those towns go to Greenwich High School. And that's what I do. And our bread and butter is probably, just for context, probably like a $2.5 to $6 or $7.5 million high net worth family house, and a high net worth buyer coming in to raise their family in this community. And we just do that. We do lower, we do higher, but that's sort of the middle of our market here.
Yeah.
And I've lived here I went to high school in Greenwich. I grew up in Rye, which is in Westchester, New York, but they're border towns. So I grew up in New York. I hopped the fence to Connecticut. We raised our children here. I've lived here for 30 years.
Oh, amazing. That's interesting. I've been out in the Bay Area for, I think, like close to 25 years. So when you arrived, I was leaving Connecticut.
Right. Okay.
We missed each other.
Time. Sorry. I'm glad we found each other again.
I know this is great. And I was
Yeah.
saying before we started recording, I love riffing with people from the East Coast because there's a different, we just speak a slightly different language, but I get it. And I'm like, oh, that's
I
home.
thought it was funny when you, in the pre-recording phase, were talking about that you missed the candor and sort of people's perception of sarcasm that you found
Mm.
on the East Coast. And I thought, I'm so much more candid and so much more sarcastic than even the people. I offend people on the East Coast. So I can't go anywhere else in the country. I mean, I have to stay here. There's no way. I wouldn't have a friend in the world if I was out where you are. Not one.
You remind me of my sister. Anytime I call her and I ask her for advice, she's like, "Do you really want to hear it?"
Yeah.
And it's
I used to say
basically
that
like,
a lot.
buckle up because it's
Mhm.
coming. Like, if you really want to open Pandora's box, it's gonna happen.
Yeah. I actually say to people, buckle up. So, but
Which,
I do
I
the
mean,
same thing with my clients
and that's what
all the time.
I was
I
gonna lean
probably
into.
break the law a little bit. Probably. I mean, not break the law, but I definitely veer into, I am willing to answer any question. I
Yeah,
will not redirect someone to, you should check this website. You should do whatever. I will guide people to real answers. So if you really, we have 3 middle schools in Greenwich. If you
Mhm.
really want to know what the very best middle school is in Greenwich, or were perceived as, or would meet the needs of your kid, and by the way, they're all different. Your kid might be an artist. Your kid might be a soccer star.
Yeah.
Your kid might be a linguist, whatever. I'm not going to send you to great schools so you can look at a number. But what does that mean? What does 7 out of 10 versus 8 out of 10 mean? But I might find some parents for you to talk to. We probably have in our own office people who had kids in the different schools. I just want to give people real information.
Yeah. Well, and you've had your own experience. Your kids went to school, and so you have a different.
My kids have been at 7 different schools in Greenwich, combination of private and public. So we've covered a lot
Holy
of
cow.
bases here. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can literally speak with authority on 7
Yes.
different schools
Yep.
of like, this one's good, this one's not so good, this one has
Yeah.
amazing X, Y, and Z.
They're all good. It's about
Yeah.
fit and the luxury of living in a market like Greenwich, which is why we chose to be here. Part of the reason we didn't stay in Rye, New York, as much as I met my husband in first grade. We've been there our whole lives. Our parents were there. Like, we've lived the same lives forever. But part of the reason we didn't stay in that town is that there, everybody loves it. The schools are amazing. And there was one private school. But I just wanted greater variety. And the great mythology of being, the parent of a toddler is that you look ahead and their whole lives are in front of you and you think you know what it looks like. And like, now as mature parents, we all start laughing at those young parents because you have no idea what those little personalities are going to be like and what the learning styles are and what the interests will be.
Yeah.
And so for us, I wanted to be in the place with the biggest range of choice. And now it actually is such a big deal that our team makes the effort, at considerable effort, to put together extensive school guides. So we have a nursery and preschool guide, and then we have a K through 12 school guide that we send to our agent partners in other communities and say, if people are thinking of moving to Greenwich and they want to know what the school options are, this would be helpful. And we share it obviously with all of our clients and our new buyers, because just in the public school system, there's 11 or 12 schools at least.
Wild.
And then you've got a ton of private. But the optionality is great because they're really, for the most part, you're talking about Greenwich, Connecticut. Okay. Let's understand that this is a privileged environment. All the schools are good, but they might not all be good for your particular child.
Yeah.
No, I have 3 children. They're each two grades apart. None of them were in high school together.
Oh, weird.
They ended up in different schools at different times so that they all had their own unique high school experience. And that's just how it happened to play out, because they are unique people and needed different things. And Greenwich allows for that, which is really great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I see it. We have 2 boys and they're literally opposites. They're on different coasts going to college, completely different schools. Their needs are completely different. So I get it. Like It makes sense. And I wish my parents understood that more when I was a kid, because I did
Yeah,
not
no, we
fit.
didn't. My mother had 4 children in 6 years, and you went off to Catholic school, and that's what you did. So
Yeah.
worked great for a couple of us, did not work for a couple others. That was just sort of how it fell.
Yeah, and I was the
All right.
couple of others. Like formalized classes. Oh, I struggle so hard. Love to learn, but I hate like that type of structure and tradition.
I do thrive in that environment. So
Which
I'm a
that's
student. Like I could be a student for life.
really.
Oh my God. If I won the lottery tomorrow, I would just be like, I would just like to go to, go to Harvard and go to every grad school class that they have. It would be great.
It's funny now that I'm like thinking about it. That's what this podcast is. Like, this is my doctorate. Like, I get to sit down
I
with
agree.
amazing people like you and just pick your brain. Like, how did you do it? How did you get there? Like, what did you do? And I learn like the aspects of their business. I agree. I mean, I think if I were to win the lotto tomorrow, I would probably do more of this, because I really genuinely like, that's where my hunger really is, in
There's
the
a
curiosity of.
there's a coach, Chirag Shah. I do not coach with him,
Yeah,
but when I
he was
first
just
came
on
to
my podcast.
Compass years ago, when I first got to Compass, I thought he was very good at, like, his program was good for people who were new to Compass and had to learn the tools. And they didn't even have half the tools that have been here for 5 years, so that they have
Yeah.
now. But he had this feature that he did regularly, and he stopped it a couple of years ago, and you've kind of picked it up. And I think it was called Ask an Agent or Agent Stories or whatever. But once a week, he interviewed an agent. And if you were in the group coaching situation, it might have been once a month. I think it was more. If you were in his coaching universe, you had access to all of those. And there were certain agent interviews that I literally watched repeatedly.
Really?
I can remember going back and thinking that of every single thing I was given, that encyclopedia of Compass agenting that was created there was probably one of the most valuable resources I had when I first came to Compass. So
Incredible.
Like what you're doing, what Jared Klein does with Compass Conversations, to go into those libraries and say, we are just looking at other people in the industry.
Yeah.
There's a library. You can watch it on your own time. You can't sleep at 3 a.m, throw in an AirPod, whatever. You always get something. And it's
That's
really
amazing.
valuable.
I'm going to call Chirag literally after this and be
Yeah.
like, hey, I need access. make it
I
happen.
don't even know if it was years ago, but it was really, they were great. They were really good. And especially as someone brand new to Compass,
Yeah.
who didn't, it's pretty overwhelming. And I came during COVID. So you were like, I came when you were, I was fortunate to have my own office.
Mm-hmm.
And I came and I went into my own office where they still wanted me to be wearing a mask, alone in my office with a closed door, and to not eat my lunch in there. And I was like, what is happening? So that
crazy.
video link was like that was my lifeline when I first arrived. Certain people calls. Francie Molina was amazing to me. I don't know.
Francie.
I mean, her generosity when I first arrived created my experience. Absolutely paved that runway for me. She was incredible. Still is, but included me in things. I mean, it's a lot.
Francie's the next level. Like, she's, I genuinely cannot say enough nice things about her.
But she really has taught me what it meant to lead with generosity. And I do that. I have a tiny team. I only have one. Right now, I only have one other licensee. And then I have a director of growth and client experience. Mm-hmm. And the 3 of us are like this little family. And I am looking to expand it. I'd actually like 2 more licensed agents ultimately. But people come to us all the time and ask to join. And I always say, no, thank you, because it's this like little fragile ecosystem. But
it is. What
I have learned, and I stopped coaching. I stopped any formal coaching because every coach told me I was paying too much. I was giving things away. I was too generous with the splits. I was too, I wasn't making the team do enough for me. And I thought, that's just not how it's going to be for me.
Yeah.
I want to create this wonderful, supportive environment where at the end of the day, it's really a succession plan. The greatest succession plan that any of us can have. Like, there's no gold watch. Unless you have a really great accountant and you set up your own defined benefit pension plan or something like that, there is no pension. So you have to have an exit strategy, and selling your business, unless you are, Ryan Serhant, is highly unlikely. If you're being honest, most people do not have anything saleable. They don't. You can't sell it yourself, and you won't be there. So
sorry to interrupt, but
no.
Not only is it really hard to sell, but usually you can only recoup proceeds for about 3, maybe 5 years afterwards. It's really hard to structure anything beyond that. But I think, to your point, and from having enough of these conversations on the podcast, is most agents don't have a package to sell. They don't. It's like their database is a hot mess. Their contacts are in their phone. Some are in the CRM, some are in a spreadsheet. But it also
truly does not. It does not work, honestly, in a luxury market.
Hey friends, I have a small favor to ask. For me to continue to bring you outstanding guests who share their best kept secrets for growing a successful real estate business, please take a moment and hit that like button so agents like you can find this content. And also hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss out on any new episodes. Now back to our show.
Liz Levison is my like superstar salesperson, other agent on my team, and Craig Gibson is our sort of growth and client relations person. He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And she is an absolute rock star. And it would be a gift if it got to the point where I had licensees working with me who were so successful, who sold as much as I did. Their volume was equivalent to mine, maybe even eclipsing mine, where I had no choice but to make them partners. That would be, to me, that would be the ultimate success. The ultimate success is I have helped somebody grow their business to a point where they are so successful that they could actually eclipse me. And so we will be partners and we will work together. And then I will be able to shift some business their way. And the 20-year trust relationship we've built up will pretty much ensure that those referral checks come to me. It's like setting up an annuity for yourself.
For sure.
But in the meantime, there's no selling a database in a luxury market.
No.
There's no way it would work. You could buy my contacts if you wanted them, but you couldn't even get past like the lawyer or the family office to get to the client. And there's no way they're just going to take a cold call from you.
No. It's true. You rarely directly interact with the actual principal. They're partitioned with all these other.
Yeah. Now that's only at the super highest end. And I will say that our high end is higher than many. So I don't know. The people in Greenwich are nice. Greenwich is a unique place because, if you go down Greenwich Avenue, you see Hermes and Saks and all these unbelievable stores and beautiful, expensive restaurants. And you think this is not, it's almost like a mini city. But Greenwich is made up of all these little communities of like good old fashioned neighborhoods with block parties and, taking the kids down to the beach at night with like a glass of wine in your little thermos. And it really is a very, very neighborhoody, community, kind spirited place. And I think that's the misperception. It's also socioeconomically diverse, much more than people think. Probably in any given year, 15 to 17% of our kids in the public school system qualify not just for free lunch, but also for free breakfast. So we do have a socioeconomic diversity here that that those of us who are on the more fortunate end do try to mitigate
Hmm.
or to help out with in some way.
Yeah. But that's interesting. Yeah, and to kind of go back to basically handing off a database. Um, yeah, you can't. I mean, from the agents that I've talked to who have bought and consumed databases and didn't get a really warm handoff, an actual introduction, either on the phone or in person, it 9 times out of 10 will just dissolve and that person won't transfer over. And so I like,
But I think even within teams, like if my dream in life came true, I would be a manager. I would love to be a manager. I trained as a
really?
teacher when I was at Dartmouth. I coached youth travel sports for years. I'm a mom. I'm the oldest of 4 kids who came in quick succession. Like that's how I am built.
Yeah.
And I have loved building a team. It has like scratched that itch for me. But if I really could do anything, I would love to be a manager. And for most people who sell real estate, that's their worst nightmare. And someone said to me recently, like, really? But I love my clients. I'm like, but if you were a manager, the whole office would be your client.
Yeah.
And
It's true.
and I'm really direct. I mean, like kind of bitchy direct, really. And I think that if you want to run an efficient business, it's not charity. We are not curing cancer. We are doing good, solid work. It is not the Lord's work. And it's not, and we don't do it for free just because we love looking at wallpaper. And most of us got into this business because we had to, and we needed something flexible that we could get into quickly, that we had the potential to make money.
Mhm.
Let's all be honest about that. It's not a hobby. The hobbyists lose. They're those people who pay the fees and don't sell a house in a year. Like how silly is that?
Which is a staggering number.
I know.
It's something like 70% of agents did like I don't remember the actual stats, but it was like
Yeah,
one transaction last year,
I know.
which is
It's
like,
crazy. Think
it's
about what you pay to
crazy.
be an agent and then to
Not
not.
only you're paying the fees and you've invested all that time and you're continuing, you have to re-up your license and all that great stuff. But that one person you helped, I don't even know if I would say use the word helped. Like, what did you steer them into that they had no idea was even happening? Like,
I just think that I feel for managers because I think they're in a tough spot. And I know that Compass managers' roles are different than at other offices. So maybe they're not quite as responsible for recruiting because we have SGMs, et cetera. But at the end of the day, I am not afraid of conflict. And I like mediating situations is not unlike negotiating, right? You have 2 people who have different goals and you have to align them to one goal at the end because there's only going to be one answer. But I also think that sometimes we do people a disservice when we don't recognize that this is not the right business for them and stand up and articulate it to them. And I think
agree.
that I watch that sometimes. So like when you watch managers of huge offices, not Compass, like a huge sort of where all it is about headcount and they're bringing people in. And when you and I really are honest with ourselves and think about what it's cost you, not just monetarily, but in time, we don't get benefits, any of those things. When you meet someone and you watch them struggle, and it's not because they don't have the Compass platform, and it's not because they didn't fill in their CRM correctly. It's that this just really isn't the career for them. Or if real estate is something they're interested in, being an independent contractor sales agent is not the role for them.
Yeah.
Somebody should tell them. It's mean.
I agree. I agree with you. I mean, I shared this right before we recorded, but I was asked, can anybody be a great agent? And I had to really go back
Definitely
and
not.
forth. And I agree. I don't think
No.
anybody like, nor do they in their heart really genuinely want to. And I think to be not even the best, but to be really good in this business, you have to have a lot of really specific skills in a lot of different categories to to be able to
And
get
one of them, I believe, well, not everybody can be a great agent across the board. What I get asked a lot, especially, is about breaking into luxury and being a luxury agent.
Yeah.
And I know that there are coaches and there are schools of thought that you just get in and then you start raising your price point, raising your price point, raising your price point. There's some truth to that. But not everyone will be or has the capacity to be a luxury property level agent. They don't. And let's just call that what it is, because that also is easier to, if you think about a car on a highway, you go the fastest and you get to your destination the quickest if you stayed in one lane and you didn't have anybody in front of you blocking you and you just went in a straight line. But when you change lanes, you get on the ramp, you get off the ramp, whatever, that slows you way down. Mm-hmm. And I have watched people do that in my own market and others. They own a territory, they own a neighborhood, they own a school district. If you were going to buy in that school district, you go to Susie Q. She knows everybody. She's run the PTA. She has 4 kids there, and she has 60% of the listings. But Susie Q gets bored of that, or Susie Q has a friend who buys one really expensive house, and they have that experience. And I'm like, that's great. Well, now they're like, okay, I want to do another really expensive house, and I want to move that up. If you haven't built the infrastructure to maintain your farm, the area in which you dominate, and you take your eye off the ball because you want to be the $8 million agent instead of the $2 million agent, it's pretty rare that you become quickly enough a consistent $8 million agent. Mm-hmm. But it takes about 30 seconds for you to lose your edge in the neighborhood of the $2 million listings. And I apologize to anyone listening that these numbers are offensively high. That's just the Greenwich market. I totally understand that will make people crazy, but that's our reality here. Our entry point is like, for a single family house, to get a single family house below 1.5 is exceedingly difficult.
Yeah. Unfortunately, San Francisco's we're in the same boat.
Yeah, you're in the same boat. But you sort of lost your sure thing to reach for something without really understanding what goes into being a serious luxury agent. And I've said to people before, I would rather have 4 $5 million buyers than one $20 million buyer any day of the week. And I've had both, and it's great. But whether you recognize that you're doing it or not, you start jumping through hoops for the $20 million buyer. That's the call you always answer. That's the question, the email you always respond to. That's the appointment you cancel others to accommodate that one. They're just people. They're buyers like any other buyer. And you could work with them for a year and they could decide that really they'd rather be in Miami, or they've decided to go to London or whatever. And you ignored sort of your lower level stuff that
it's not really lower level.
That by the way would also, but also would feed your family.
Yeah.
I don't know why everybody works. I work to support my family. So
agreed.
You know,
I mean, it's not dissimilar of owning income properties, right? If you have a 4-unit building versus a single family, if that single family is vacant, you have 100% vacancy rate. Whereas if you have a 4-unit building and one leaves, you only have a very 25%, very tiny vacancy rate, and you still have source income of 3 others, 75% still coming in. And so it's same thing. And when I was moving price points and getting into the 4.5 to 5 million, I realized, hey, that too is a numbers game. Like you write a bunch of offers and you have to lose. And then you're going to have that client who decides, hey, we're going to actually go to Paris instead. I actually had a client recently who literally they were looking at 3.5. We wrote an offer. They didn't get accepted. A week later, they're like, actually, I'm taking a role in New York City. Can you recommend somebody? And that's it. Done. They were gone. And it's It
Did you get the
shocks.
referral at least?
Oh, 100%.
We've had the other. We see people a lot who look here and then want to go one or two towns up, and I watch agents take them and they do a couple of showings, but it's not really their backyard.
Yeah,
And then
that's
they
the
end up
other one.
losing that client because that client met someone who is a specialist in that town.
Yeah.
And you got zero. And I would rather have 25% than zero.
And that's where it gets really tricky because, well, two things. You have a price point specialty where that's your strength, and then the clients are going to figure that out if you're way reaching outside of your normal. And then I'm not sure about Connecticut, but I would assume it's very similar to the Bay Area, where you cross a line and there's different statutory requirements. There's different things you look for on the inspections. There's literally a different contract if you go over a bridge. It's a different contract. And then you go there and that county has different things that are expected of both the buyer and seller. And so I'm of the same view. It's like, sure, the price point is amazing and I would love to help you, but I'm not the expert in that area. Like, I'm not going to be able to steer you correctly.
It's not, I understand that it's not an attractive quality of my own, but I like to be the smartest person in the room. Not the smartest person, brain power, but if I'm going to do something, I want to be an expert in it. I'm not good at being bad at things. I don't casually go play golf once a year because I refuse to get up to the tee and suck. Like I'm self-conscious about it. I don't like to be bad at things. So, and it's not attractive actually. And I tried
have the same
hard,
DNA.
But I tried hard not to pass that on to my kids because I want them to have the appetite to go out and try new things and not be self-conscious if they're the one who's never played pickleball. But like, I don't walk what I talk because I'm not good at it. So for me, part of just focusing on Greenwich, first of all, we do a couple $2 billion in business a year just in Greenwich. So if you get even a tiny piece of that pie, that's enough business. Yeah. But I think that the real value comes in, like, Craig and Liz and I put together people's entire lives for them. We don't just, I find somebody a house. And then I also have spent enough time with them at that point that I have gotten them involved in the Greenwich Land Trust and whatever other, the Boys and Girls Club, because those are the two sort of charities with the friends at the age group that I think would be great for them. And then I've connected them with Liz, who has a toddler, and they've been able to have a great conversation, and who grew up here herself, went to the preferred nursery school, went to the schools here also. I went to high school in Greenwich too. So they have those conversations about the schools. And Craig is like, he kind of knows, he's like a real Renaissance man and he knows everything. And his background is in luxury. He worked at high level fashion brands, Ralph Lauren, and he worked, excuse me. He worked with one of our top jewelers in town. So Craig comes in and he has the eye that I don't have. So for a middle-aged woman who lives in Greenwich, Connecticut, I cannot tell you who made what any of the wallpaper brands are, which marble it is, like, oh, it's Calcutta, gold versus bronze versus whispering baby's breath. I do not care. I am in the attic telling you that you have guano on the floor, so there must be a bat somewhere. And that, by the way, looks like a flying squirrel dropping. And then I'm in the basement peeling up like linoleum tile that really is asbestos and saying, see, it's oily. This is probably asbestos. We need to get this removed. Buyers are freaking out. And I'm like, you shouldn't be afraid of asbestos. That's easier to remove. That damp spot in the corner of the basement that you didn't care about, one little damp spot, that's what you should be afraid of. You should have a deathly fear of water. You should not be afraid of asbestos. That's what I bring. And Craig comes in and has a rapport with the clientele and an appreciation for the artistry of these beautiful, beautiful homes that also has contributed to our team in incredible ways. all of the collateral, the photography, the videography, assisting people with simple things, with moves. Who's a really reliable art mover, who can take care of that special chandelier. How do you move a wine cellar? By the way, that's not easy. You need special movers, temperature controlled trucks. It's like not. So the three of us are a great team. Liz is who I was like 20 years ago, young mom living in Greenwich, similar school, similar background. We're almost exactly 20 years apart. And I'm like pretty tough, brutal, straightforward negotiator, numbers, nuts and bolts. Yeah. And Craig brings a little style to the whole thing. It's really great. We're lucky.
You know, I really genuinely wish somebody would rewind that section and just listen to it again, because you so perfectly described what it takes to build a really great team. And it's, if you kind of, as you were sharing that, I was almost imagining puzzle pieces, and there's no duplicate pieces, but each piece fits with the other one and supports it to create the whole vision. And like, that's a great team. And to go earlier to the conversation of when, you know, people come knocking on your door and they're like, hey, we want to join the team. Sure, you can add warm bodies, but unless they're the right puzzle piece, it's a nightmare.
But I think people ask all the time. They ask about the branding and the orange and the how did you come up with that? And I'm like, oh God, okay. It's sort of like the team too. Our team is totally unorthodox. People think they want to join the team, but they don't really when they figure out that like we don't do any lead gen. I have never handed out a lead ever. Like that's, if I have a client that I don't have a lot of time for and I share it with Liz, she'll take them. We'll do it 50-50. We totally support each other in that. That's great. You do the buy, I'll do the sell, but we'll both be on both. Like, yeah. But the team situation for us is, I think of who I was when I first got into the business. Mm-hmm. And if I was really capable and had an excellent Rolodex, had a history, Liz had sold in New York City. And I had great contacts and a great personality and a quick mind and was a good negotiator. And I went and worked for someone and they were like, okay, thanks. You do all the work. My name's going to be on everything. I would never have worked for that person ever. Same. So the team JGB is an umbrella, but it's not really. An umbrella covers you and it holds you down. The name is the umbrella, but really I like to think of it as a platform. I want it to be the base upon which you build your own business and your own brand. So when I have a team member, and if we grow the team, it would be the same thing. I have a team member, they're going out on a listing pitch. We'll all come to support if that's what they wish. Mm-hmm. But they'll take their own pitch book where I'm a little picture that's part of the team, meet the team. But it's their big full picture and their bio. And when it goes on the MLS, it's their name. I think people work hard and they deserve recognition. And my expectation is that the people who work on my team will be me, which means they will work as hard and they will therefore someday reap, hopefully, the rewards of having multi-million-dollar years. And they deserve the credit for that as individuals.
Yeah. And I mean, I think you're touching on a lot of key points. And I think that the first and foremost is there's no right or wrong way to build a team. It's what resonates with you and like what fits, like what's your style and what's your approach. I'm the same way. I was approached early on to join a team and it was somebody's name. And I had the same, like, I'm going to work my tail off to build their name so they can have their name on the MLS. And I was like, that doesn't feel right. That just doesn't. And I just think,
though, it's how you lead with it. Like I would say Francie Molina's team is exceptional. I think she co-lists with everybody. So her agents do get a chance to develop their own name, but they are proud to have Francie's name and they want it on there, you know, she's got this big team, but again, she's led with generosity. She sits down at the end of the year. They know how much money she has spent on marketing and advertising. She provides all the gifting. She does a lot of stuff. I think all you have to do is be transparent and lead with total authenticity. Yeah. Even though I'm so tired of that word and I think it gets overused, and I even apologize for using it. But
oh my God, authenticity and luxury are the two words I am like so sick of hearing. And I mean, we're using luxury, but I feel like we're using it correctly.
Right. But I think it's like about the brand. Okay. People say, oh my gosh, I'll get a text from an agent that I may have met because I spoke in their office or something, but I don't know them. If I'm being honest, I don't recognize their number's not in my phone. Like just a number comes up, right? And I'll get a picture of an Aperol spritz that just got served to them and it has 3 orange slices, or they're shopping in a store and there's a bright orange jacket or a bright orange car goes by, and they will send me a picture and say, thought of you, you should have this. And I'm so touched every single time.
That's so cool.
And I feel so fortunate, but I did not wake up 4 years ago and decide that I was going to own the color orange. I woke up when I turned 50 and I couldn't fucking see my phone. So I was like, okay, we have to do something here. Like, we have to do something. I'm in a store. I'm checking out. People have heard the story. It's boring. I had a gift card. I bought like 2 pairs of pants, whatever, probably this shirt. And there was like $18.12 left. And there was a basket of readers. And I'd been denying the fact that I needed reading glasses. And I reached into it and there was an orange pair. And I was like, okay, I love orange. I was like, if I'm going to have to wear readers, I'm going to make it fun. I'm not going to spend, 3 days with Oprah looking to see what's, what does she wear? Those big peepers or whatever. And the woman was like, they're $20. I said, look, I don't want $18 left on the gift card. Give them to me for $18 and I'll take the orange glasses. No one else is going to buy them. So she gave them to me. Fine. And I wore them.
What a great negotiation.
And I loved them and people responded to them. But what people said to me when I pulled them out with my girlfriends at dinner or whatever, they were like, oh my God. They're like, of course you bought the orange glasses. Of course you have orange readers. Of course, when you could have chosen anything, most people have black or tortoise or clear. You chose orange. That's so you. Oh my God, that's so you. If you have anything in your life that people say to you, that's so you, that's your brand. You don't pick a brand. You wake up one day and you look at what is going on in your personal life as well as your business life, and you see if there's any theme or any consistency or anything that makes sense for you, and you go with it. How do we think about the sort of coveted, respected groups, the biggest things at Compass? Think about sports and entertainment. Mm-hmm. I don't know Ben Moss. I really don't. But I don't think that sports and entertainment started one day because he was like, my specialty is trailer parks, but I would really like to work with Michael Jordan. So I'm going to just start this sports and entertainment thing out of thin air and hope it works one day. My guess, I don't know, my guess is there was some consistency to a business that he then wanted to move forward and capitalize on because it was already in his natural sphere. Yeah. Super discreet, found some like-minded agents who also were working in that space, understood the level of discretion and commitment and 24/7 availability that requires. And that's probably how S&E was born. Mm-hmm. And I just made that up. I could be wrong. Ben might call you like, she's crazy. I didn't know. But I don't think you pull that out of thin air. I think good groups work because you can't fake it. Yeah. You can't. I know clients, I know agents who join every group that exists. Literally, I know people who would join everything, just to be part of the group, just to be a joiner because of the FOMO, or there might be an opportunity, a Jewish man who wants to join Catholic middle-aged women of Compass. You're like, wait, this is crazy. Everybody just step back. Like, I just find it to be funny. The branding thing is really interesting to me, especially with the brand new agents. I mean, nothing makes me laugh more than the brand new agent that comes in, and I mean new licensee, right? They come onto a team, or maybe they've had some luck. They've had a couple good years so they can come to Compass. They've sold, $5 million. And they spend a lot of energy working on their logo. I'm like, what do you need a logo for? What? The logo you need is Compass. It's already there. Go out and use that logo. It is fascinating to me. And they're printing hats. I'm like, you haven't made any money. Why are you spending money putting your name, nobody knows your name, on a hat? Do you think someone else is going to wear your name? I don't know. It's kind of sad to me.
I would say that's the number one crazy thing new agents do. Any agent does, is they spend money they don't have. I remember I was maybe a year in, and I got really lucky. I sold my first San Francisco property was for 2.7, and then I sold a 1.8. And so I really hit the ground.
That's really lucky. Yeah.
And I felt really blessed. And I closed them, and I'm sitting at my desk, and this agent calls me over, and they're like, hey, can you come here and look at this for me? And they pulled up their website and was like, hey, what do you think of these colors? And I was like, I don't have a website. You don't need a website.
I mean,
just
Compass
go call
gives you a webpage.
You're pushing pixels around on a screen that no one's going to see. The only person who cares about it is your mom. But
Shawn, some of that also is about doing the deep dive on who you are, who you want to be business wise, and where your business is coming from. I've
if you have zero
marketing advice, right? But so for example, I don't have zero. Liz and Craig and I this year will close. Right now we're at, which is killing me, 94. So I really wanted to get to 100. It is unlikely we will close something else before the end of the year.
No, you can do
so
this.
That comes out like shrapnel. But anyway, still, we've had an incredible year. And thanks to Liz, who was a huge piece of that production. Yeah, so we're really proud. We've had a great year. I gave up my luxury presence website. And when everybody wanted to talk me into Agenta, this, that, and the other thing, Jack Nathan Richards, who was my former marketing director, unfortunately, they moved to Uruguay. But still, we'll do it digitally if people need people. Built me a Squarespace, or whatever the platform is, I don't even know, website. And someone maintains it and updates it with our new listings and the things that we need. And if they want to search properties, it channels them to the Compass search. And that's all I need. Because you know what the fact of the matter is? I don't work with strangers, and I don't really want to. And I am definitely not spending the time, money, and energy that would be required to bulk up all this SEO to drive traffic to my website so that hopefully a stranger will use me. Because I could take that literally probably $15,000 or $20,000 a year minimum that you would need to spend, probably more, and have 3 or 4 incredible client dinner party experiences that they'll be talking about for 10 years. Or I could take that $10,000 and have a beautiful year-end cocktail party for my clients, which I will do. And I could take the other 10,000 and chop that up and visit 4 different markets and call their manager and say, I'm coming. By the way, the managers are happy to have a decent speaker speak in their office. They have to fill the airtime for the office meetings and provide some value. I mean, go to another market that's a feeder market, grab the top 5 agents, take them out to a beautiful dinner. People spend money foolishly, but instead you come in and someone has throw pillows with their name and logo on it that they're going to put at a listing when they take the photo. I don't understand it.
I mean, I think
coaching, they spend so much money on coaching.
So much money on coaching.
It is incredible.
I think coaching is, well, again, I think there's certain personalities who need coaching. And I think there's certain personalities who will just go and figure stuff out on their own. And that's fine. I'm not throwing shade on either side. But there's also,
I think coaching has a role, but I do not think people are examining what they need and when they need it.
Yeah.
They just agreed. Like Steve Shull, I did one-on-one coaching with Steve Shull for 6 or 8 months when I was going from a solo agent to building my team. I'd done some group stuff.
Yeah.
That's the right personality for me. He's super blunt. That works. It was awesome. Steve was critical in helping me get
And that's prescriptive.
organized and have that accountability. But I went in with a goal.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this coaching. I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to get my team set up. And then you wake up one day and you're like, people wake up 4 years later and they're still meeting for half an hour on Monday morning. Like, what do you want to talk about?
That's just the car payment. I mean,
it's insane.
That's all it is.
Totally.
And that's where
I'm grateful to Steve. I value Steve's existence in the world. I would send anybody to him, but I would send anyone to any coach and say, you should have a goal, and your goal should also be to terminate coaching when you have achieved the goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's why someone like a Susie Adamson does such a great business. It's like, my coaching is cleaning up your CRM, setting up your platform, getting it organized, and then you're done. It doesn't go on forever.
And she's like, then we break up and that's it. Like,
yeah, totally.
I mean, I remember years ago, I blew out my back when I was doing martial arts, and I went to a bunch of doctors, and I wound up going to one of like, hey, let's do a series of appointments. We'll do a series of treatments. He's like, I'm a former athlete, and I know that you just want to go out and keep going. And so let's figure out how to get you back there as fast as possible. And I remember that just like really clicked with me, because all the other were like, well, let's just see, and you should stop doing the thing that you love doing. And it was not prescriptive in the solution. But I think, to roll it back to websites and these, different marketing budgets is, I think it's to go back to branding and all these different components that you're talking about, is really step back, figure out the one specific thing that you're actually trying to accomplish, and go and do that. Otherwise you're a generalist, and it's like you're dabbling with, you spend $5,000 on your website, then you spend $5,000 on social media, then you spend $5,000 on mailers, and then you step back and you're like, well, nothing works. And you're like,
but also hold your ground. Like you must know yourself. And I think that I have that luxury. I know what the mid-range of my market is and what I do frequently, but Liz and I were super proud to put not one, not two, but 3 properties under contract in the month of August, by the way, which is usually dead of this year, under $1.4 million. Wow. That is highly unusual in Greenwich. We did 3 of them. And it wasn't like Liz did them. They weren't really like, I had clients, Liz had clients, and we had shared clients. And that, those people I would bet my life that they had as positive an experience as did the $12.5 million listing that I sold in September in 3 weeks. Everybody gets the same experience. So I don't want to pigeonhole a price point, because I've chosen to pigeonhole in a geography. I'm going to be the expert. We would rather have 10 clients use us 3 times than 30 clients use us once.
Good point.
The worst thing that could happen to me is a client that didn't use you again. The same way that
it's gutting when that happens.
Yeah. And sometimes their sister got their license and whatever. Yeah. But people make stupid decisions. I mean, people have heard me say this a million times, so it's not, none of this is new, but you have a house, call it. And in Greenwich, that house might be $4 million. You have a nice white colonial, it's beautiful, great school district. And you have $1 million mortgage on it. So that means that house has $3 million of your cash sitting in it. Okay. Depending on what the market does, maybe it's earning interest, maybe it's not, but that equity is sitting there. And now it's time to sell it. And your best friends sadly just gotten divorced and just got a real estate license, or your son's girlfriend's dog walker is a really great agent and has sold 4 condos or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
People get pulled into choosing a listing agent for reasons other than what makes good financial, practical sense.
Agreed. 100%
If
agree.
you took that $3 million in cash and you put it in a wheelbarrow and you had to do something with it, there's no fucking way you would wheel it over to your, daughter's cousin who just got his financial planner license and say, please protect my money. You wouldn't do it. But you choose agents that way. People choose agents that way all the time. It's fascinating to me.
It is.
I'm like, agents are financial stewards. That's what you are. In many ways, you're partly a financial advisor. And people would never do with cash what they're willing to do with their home, even when those homes are worth millions of dollars. It's fascinating. Agents do the same thing. Agents don't think about the split that they pay to Compass. So I tell people all the time, when you closed a deal, let's just use a round number. Let's say we're going to make up. Agent Joe just sold a house for $1 million. He has an 80% split with Compass. And it was a 2.5% sale for him. I'm just trying to use round numbers that are easy. Okay. Yeah. $100,000 arrives at whatever the math is. The split arrives at Compass. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's say it was 5%. Okay. So $50,000 comes in. 25 goes to the buy side. 25 is supposed to go to you. You're not getting the full 25 because $5,000 of that is going to Compass. You're only getting 20. If you got the full commission in cash and you walk down, who's your manager, Shawn?
Patrick.
Okay.
Barber.
So you walked down to Patrick's office to his desk and you counted out $5,000. And your pile went from 25 to 20, and you gave Patrick $5,000 and said, this is my rent. Thanks for letting me be here. And you walked out of the office with $20,000. You would absolutely make sure that every tool that Compass was providing, you were taking advantage of because you are paying for it.
I agree.
So when people do not, they don't go to their office meeting. They don't travel when they're invited to small events. They don't go to the headquarters when they're in New York City. They happen to be in New York. They don't go say hi. They only use the platform for Business Tracker because that's what they have to do to get paid. But they don't meet with their marketing people. They don't take advantage of sitting with their AEM. Yeah. They don't go into their office. I'm like, you are paying for it. Why don't you try to get everything out of that? Go to Compass Academy before you pay a mediocre coach. Because Compass has provided all this coaching for free, by the way.
The Compass Academy, by the way, not to just shamelessly plug Compass.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
It's incredible.
It's not only is it incredible. So they're really succinct, a few minutes of somebody,
right,
really highly skilled agent explaining something. There are many times I've straight up just called that agent and said, hey, I just watched your Compass Academy. It was amazing. I have a quick question. Do you have a few minutes? And they're like, sure, of course.
Totally.
And you get this masterclass one-on-one for
it's
free.
Great.
It is unbelievable. And you're right.
But like the value of peer-to-peer, like the fact that it's agents who film that.
Yeah.
And not some executive or C-suite or even the person who built the tool. The agent that's using the tool is the one that's on the ground, teaching it. Yeah. That's where the value is there.
Have you seen mine, my 4-part series?
I don't know about that I have. What's it on? Wait, I did watch part of yours.
What's
funny. Your topic?
Relationship marketing.
Oh, yeah. I've watched so many of your podcasts and stuff that I
love it. Thank you. That's a huge, it's a huge,
I love it.
Honor because obviously you're crushing it on
but
so
you're
many
recreating
levels.
I'm telling you this early model that I found to be so incredibly, sorry, I'm getting like blinded by the sun. So incredibly valuable when I first came. And I think
I appreciate that.
I love what you're doing here. And I like the way the libraries are set up. You can go in and click a topic because here's what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
And I also appreciate the long form because I think people can get into specifics. So,
yeah,
when like we were talking about luxury earlier, and people always ask me, how do you get into luxury? How do you move up your price point? What do you do? And there's a lot of platitudes out there. Everybody can do it. Partly I would say stick with your people. You should stick with your people. When that's why I personally go and show and sell the person who's buying the $1.2 million place.
Yeah.
I want my clients' children and nieces and nephews and my clients' parents all to think of me, all to use me. I want to be part of their life story. Yeah. But I do think the reality is that sometimes people have to be like own who they are and where they came from. So
yeah,
I've spent a lot of time being in the office early and in the office really late. Nothing bothers me more when the young, especially younger, but any agent would come by. Oh my gosh, you're so lucky. You're so lucky. Look at that great closing. What great luck. I'm like, luck? What are you talking about? I work 18 hours a day. It's not luck, buddy. You make your luck. But by the same token, I had a very privileged background. So I do understand that I can move in a space that's a little bit easier. Mm-hmm. People want to get into luxury by just chasing a price point, but they don't actually want to get to know and be comfortable with and share the interests and concerns of that potential clientele. So, if you're a golfer, you want to talk about golf with other golfers. And if you're an art lover, you want to talk about the latest exhibit at the museum. And if you're a bowler, you want to talk to somebody about, the strike you had yesterday. And I just think it's like the referral piece. People plan stuff. I'm going to do this. I'm going to talk to that guy. They have horrible scripts. I'm like, I've said 100 times, like, just make friends. It's 3 words. Just make friends. You learned it. If you really want to develop a great referral business and really be good at networking, you learned it in kindergarten. Like, you figured out if you wanted to get into the kickball game, who you had to be nice to, how it worked. And then when you got into the kickball game, either you were like, I found my people. This is great. These are going to be my friends until 5th grade. Or you were like, these guys are super mean. And they just throw the ball at me as hard as they can. And they only let me into the game they're not even nice to each other. So I don't want to be friends with that group. And you found another group. And I just think the whole referral piece is the same thing. If I don't want to spend a lot of time talking, if I don't want to travel to your market to celebrate you when you invite me and say we have an opening or there's a panel, would you like to be on it? Or would you come? I'm having a dinner and I'd like you to be there. Yeah. If I don't want to just genuinely go spend time with you, regardless of whether I get business, I'm not. I know that won't evolve naturally.
Yeah, and on the if you flip it around, it's the friends that you have in your life. They're the ones you call. They show up. Like you're having 100%. A get together. They come over. You're interested in XYZ. They're interested in XYZ. You just got a new XYZ. They're super excited for you.
Right.
And so. Yeah, I mean, I think when you think about people like, oh, I want to break into this price point, it's a whole ecosystem that you're actually trying to tap into. And it's like, what are those, whatever it may be. Like my bread and butter is tech. It's tech employees. It's Google employees. It's Apple employees. It's Meta's employees.
Right.
And it's really savvy people who work really hard and they made good money. And, within that, they tend to look at specific pockets of the city because of their commute times. And so all of that is structured. That's my life. Like my closest friends work at Google and Meta. And so within that, I know when layoffs are happening. I know when raises are happening. I know when
Right.
There's other, like, I'm so connected to that world. And I think, to your point, to, the air quotes of break into luxury, it's, you just have to breathe it, live it, breathe it, eat it, consume it, and just.
And I understand that I had a very privileged upbringing. I have a beautiful education. I had parents who valued that and were easily able to afford it. I went to an Ivy League school. I went to graduate school when I felt like it. I don't have a single loan. Most people in the United States of America cannot say that. They did not have an upbringing like mine. So I have lived my whole life in the same space as the clients I have now. But the reason that I have them as clients is because they just were my friends, and that's where my world was. I would have, I think if someone says, I really want to move up my price point, I really want to sell, $3 million houses instead of $1 million houses, I just think the first question is why. So if what's happening is you sell someone a $300,000 condo, and then they buy an $800,000 starter home, and then they're like, and if these are the average price points in your market, and then they get to the $1.5 million house, and maybe that's it. And then for a few of them, their career really goes on, and now they're ready to move to like a $3 million house, which is a big number in your market. And they've used you 3 times, but they don't use you for the last transaction. Then I would say, okay, that's legitimate. You want to stick with your client. And there should not be a reason why they use you here, they use you here, they use you here, and they don't use you there. My clients use me in Greenwich, Old Greenwich, Coscob. They want my advice. I have partners I put them with in Rowayton and Darien and New Canaan. Liz on our team will sometimes take people up there. But at the end of the day, if they're going to Westchester County, they're not using me. And there's no question why. I'm not licensed in New York. But if somebody used me 2 or 3 times in Greenwich, had a really positive experience, I got them a great deal, we won the bidding war, it's always been great. And then when they were moving to a higher price point, that's when I got dropped, and that happened repeatedly. Then I would say, okay, the reason I want to move up is because I want to stick with my clients. What am I doing that they're not thinking of me? How do I maintain that relationship? That's legitimate. But to sit back and say, to say that I sell, $800,000 houses, and what I really want to do is just sell $2 million houses because that looks easy and fun and the checks are bigger. But by the way, that's actually not a neighborhood I'm even familiar with. It's 2 towns over. Those aren't my people. Then maybe what you want to do is maybe what you really want to do is just make more money. But maybe chasing listings you're unlikely to get is not the best way to do it. Maybe it is. But do a deep dive. Maybe what you need to do is have a more productive team member. Maybe what you need to do is be more efficient. Maybe you're spending money on the wrong things. You're doing crazy marketing. And the other thing is being true to yourself. Like, print advertising is dead, supposedly, but we're in Architectural Digest a lot. And you know whose clients get Architectural Digest at home? Mine, all of them. So we, several times a year, are in Architectural Digest. It's in the home delivery, and we all get multiple texts every time it hits.
I love that.
You know what I will never have? A TikTok. You want to know why? Because my clients aren't freaking on TikTok. Like, they're not. Like, I'm sorry, middle-aged Greenwich women are not on TikTok. So I'm not worried about that. For me, Liz might develop a TikTok. So I also think being careful, people hire. There are experts in marketing. There are experts in branding. There are experts in all kinds of things. But you are the only expert in you. And you have to be front and center. You have to be first. When the marketing person, the consultant that you hire, and you're paying them a lot of money, and they come in and say, no, print is dead. It might be, but it might not be in your town. You may work in a town. You may be in a town like Rye, New York, where everybody reads the Rye Record. They still do. They have a local paper, and you need to be in it. And trust what you know. I would push back when people say things like that.
Again, it goes back to the holistic approach, is
Mhm.
really genuinely understand who you are as an individual, understand who your clients are, and then truly understand where are your clients hanging out. And your clients are literally hanging out in Architectural Digest.
Yeah,
So that's where
totally.
you need to
But
hang out.
but think about but just I mean, learn from reality is one of our really great tenets at Compass, and people don't
Yeah.
actually do it. And the way I first brought Liz onto my team, and the way I my plan to bring new people on, first of all, I love new licensees. I want to train them from scratch. I don't bring them. Most people don't want a brand new licensee. Bring them to me. Great, mommy will teach them. But the other thing is that I listen to all of these people consistently complain. What is the one complaint you hear all the time? I found this great person. I knew they'd be awesome. I brought them in. I trained them up. They were the greatest assistant. They were the greatest operations manager. They were the greatest admin. They kept the whole thing running. But they saw what you make as an agent, and now they want to be an agent. And and they're leaving, and we don't have an admin, and now I have to do it all over again. I heard that. I was a solo agent for 17 years. I heard that so many times that when I went to develop my team, Liz came on and I paid her a half salary. So whatever an admin, a operations manager was getting at the time, I was like, I'll pay you like maybe a third of that. And you give me 2 hours a day in the morning, and you go to town hall and you do this, you learn the systems, and then you just sit on my hip and you come with me everywhere I go. Showing appointments, listings, we've got a photo shoot, whatever it is. I'm opening my soul to you. I will give you all of my contacts. I will give you all of the resources. The handyman, I don't give anybody. The painter, I haven't told anyone about. We are family now. And I will build you. And you will help develop the system so that when the next person comes along, when you're ready, when your business, and by the way, it happened in 9 months, she was off to the races.
Kudos.
My plan is for you to no longer be the admin.
Yeah.
And when we get to the point where we have so much business, which actually with just the two of us, we got two this year, about 6 months ago, I then hired an admin who doesn't want to be an agent and never will be, and is an our operations manager, and they're remote. They're not even here. They're in Florida. Alyssa. And she's literally keeping us. I don't know how we existed before, but I just found it fascinating. Every team leader, everybody complained about the same thing. Watch out, they want to be an agent. Don't hire someone who would be a really good agent to be your admin, because then they'll want to be an agent. I was like, well, if you think someone would be an amazing agent, rather than not hire them and let them go to somebody else, how about you bring them in, train them exactly in your systems with what you want to do, with your goal of moving them up to be an agent.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
That's a brilliant, it's
and let them train the next person.
Brilliant. And that's, it goes back, that's really good management. That's great leadership, honestly. That's seeing the road ahead, figuring it out, and you're building them in to the whole experience, which is incredible.
Your description of that is extremely generous, and I appreciate it, but it's just covering your ass. It's watching other people who did the same thing over and over and expected a different result, and sitting there and saying, well, I'm pretty sure that's the definition of insanity, so I'm not going to hire. You met Liz Levison. You talked to this young woman for 5 minutes, and you knew that she was going to be a rock star agent. And I was like, how do we not have this go sideways? Yeah. I just find it interesting that, and then they go out and do it again. They look at someone who would be a great agent and bring them on, hoping they'll be content to stay an admin.
Yeah. I think, all industries fall into that same trap of it. Did you ever hear the crazy story? So it's like the daughter says to the mom, hey, how do you make pot roast? And she's like, well, you get the pan, you get the pot roast, you cut the ends off. She's like, why do you cut the ends off? She's like, that's how grandma taught me. And she goes to the grandmother and she goes, hey, grandma, mom said you get the pot roast, you cut the ends off, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh dear. She's like, I cut the ends off because my oven was so small. And
Yeah,
it's like, we in this industry, we just print is dead. No one does print. And you're like, well,
right,
there's a huge opportunity because that's
right,
specifically where my clients hang out.
right.
I would say that from doing this podcast and talking to so many top agents, the one superpower they all have across the board is this keen ability to evaluate and not look at things
Yeah.
better than they are or worse than they are, but just actually observe things as how they are and then work from there. And that's literally what you it sounds like you've built your whole business on
Well,
in
I think the
relationships.
other thing is like I went into an office meeting and it's only, there's three of us and then I have a marketing person and the operations manager. Sometimes we're all in the same meeting. We're not. Sometimes we're not. But mostly it's just the three of us on a weekly basis. And a couple of months ago, I had a last minute listing presentation and I went out and I looked at the house. I called Liz. I'm like, can you run through? She came with me. We did this thing. We really thought we had it. I went to Dartmouth. The homeowner had gone to Dartmouth. We had this little bonding thing. Like it should have worked. We didn't get it. And I almost never lose a listing and it kind of bothered me. It wasn't a big one, but still. And I lost it to someone who like runs a giant like team, people cold call, like a totally different model than what we have.
Yeah.
But what really mattered was the following Tuesday when we had our office meeting, we sat down and I was like, I really screwed that up. And they were like, what? And I was like, well, we can talk about wins. That's fine. But like, I didn't trust my gut. And I didn't follow what I really thought I should have done with those people initially, because then we got distracted by everybody stages and everybody paints and everybody. But these people were moving and they just needed to get that house cleaned up and on the market and get out of there and sell it quickly while there was still a market before school. And I got too seduced by what you should do. And I didn't just tell them to do what I knew they should do. And we lost it. I didn't read between the lines. I didn't really listen to the client. I didn't really parse exactly what their needs were and what would serve them best.
Yeah.
And the first thing I did was tell the team, I said to Liz, you were standing there. What do you think happened? How do we not lose the next one? I personally think I screwed that up. And I think you have to be willing to do that too.
I agree. I mean, you can't improve if you don't really because you don't learn from the experience, or you can't implement something new in the business to prevent that thing from happening again. You have to. Yeah. I mean, I think, some some days you lose, but that doesn't make you a loser, but it's figuring out why you lost, and really chewing on it. But I think more importantly, and I think it gives permission to people who are under you of, hey, like I really screwed this up and here's what I would do better the next time. But then it gives them permission to evaluate themselves too, because when you're learning, you don't have the intuition yet.
Right.
And you don't have the experience yet, but it's, gathering those little points along the way. I think
you should. I mean, I think it's a luxury to get to the point in your business where you can fire clients. I think that sometimes if it's really not a fit, if working with that client will do damage to your reputation, that's really important. Yeah. I will say, when people are like, that client's horrible, they've been running around with all these, they're terrible, whatever, I make it my personal mission to like have those clients fall in love with me and be so grateful at the end. I've been pretty successful. I've been very successful with that. The one thing I won't do is the serial bidder. Those are the clients I break up with, because I have enjoyed an exceptionally strong reputation in the bidding war scenario. I win almost all of the bidding wars that we're in. And when I run up against a client who puts in an offer but doesn't follow your advice and wants to go lower, or it's almost like they want to be in the game but they want to make sure they lose. Or even worse, I had a client win 2 really hotly contested bidding wars, and the same client then walked away from both deals, and I parted ways with them.
Whoa.
And they were like, well, I said, I'm going to be honest with you. I had a reason in mind. I was going to tell you it was this, that, or the other thing. But the fact of the matter is that I have worked exceptionally hard on my reputation.
Yeah.
And at least one of those bidding wars, you were not the high bid. But because of my reputation, the listing agent I said, we are closers. We will do it. You know me.
Yeah.
And I said, you know me. And they did know me. And now they're not sure they do know me as well
brutal.
because of that experience. So like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not waiting for the third strike. Sorry.
Oh.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, that's a hard call, but yeah.
But it was stupid. You knew it wasn't legitimate reasons. It wasn't like they won the bidding war and then they found out the foundation was crumbling.
Yeah.
Like
it was
the kind of personality that they wanted to win. And then they were like, they thought that was like sort of, they could use it like a placeholder. We want to win and then we'll really make up our mind tomorrow.
Yeah.
Sorry. No. The other agents are your clients, much more than your clients are. Everybody
100%.
knows that, but they don't, everybody knows it. Everybody says it out loud, but they don't act that way. They don't act that way.
And the reality is the odds and the percentage of the times you actually compete against them is pretty small, but the amount of times you collaborate with them is incredibly high.
Somebody said recently on a call I was watching that, and I wish I could remember who it was just because I want to give them credit, but I truly can't, is that when you start in the business, competition is what happens at the bottom and collaboration is what happens at the top. So when you get up to these, when you've worked for a long time and built a reputation and luckily have built a pretty big stable of business, it's all collaboration. I mean, and for me in a place like Greenwich, it's non-Compass agents. Non-Compass agents a lot of the time. I have a great pal at Brown Harris. I have a couple great pals at Sotheby's. I have a couple great pals at Houlihan Lawrence, which are our number one boutique here. I ask all those people to come in and price with me. If I have a pocket listing, they're all getting that phone call. Like, that's how our marketplace works. We really collaborate.
And the reality is they're going to bring the client. And so it's all about the collaboration and just helping each other out, because there's going to be that day when it's competitive and somebody knows you and you get the call back. We're actually under contract right now.
That has happened so many times.
I love it when it happens.
I'm so grateful for it every time. Really grateful.
It's so
But it's not about the stuff. Like, I'm a horrible gifter. Oh my God, I am the worst. I like almost never have a closing gift for people. I just, I'm not giving you a generic, like, here's a bottle of champagne. I'm not doing that. So if I've listened, if somebody's like, we're so excited to get out of the city and get up here, and our kids just started, we're dying to give them tennis lessons and we just can't wait. I will show up on the closing day with children's tennis rackets and balls, and that's great because I paid attention and I listened and something came up. People have a swimming pool and they've never had a pool before. There will be pool floats floating in the pool, that kind of thing. Yeah. But I will not just be like, here's my signature gift basket with some salami. Like,
what's funny, if you actually read the book, The 7 Languages of Love, I think it's 7. Only one of them is receiving gifts.
Right.
And so more importantly, I think, is having conversations with your clients and understanding, like, some of them can literally buy anything they want. So gifts don't really mean much to them. Whereas
So most of my clients can buy whatever they want. Whatever I bought them, they probably already own or could have a much more expensive, lovelier version of. If we get to the closing table and they feel that in some way they were saved time or money or both, and their privacy was protected along the way,
yes,
there's nothing better I could have done for them.
Literally nothing. I would say the privacy component is huge on so many levels.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love what I do and I love all the aspects of it. I love my clients.
Like,
Um, I don't actually, I don't, I love the way a really great house makes you feel, whether it's a new construction or an old house. I can walk in and be like, this is a good house, a crappy house, or a great house by how it feels. But I don't love the stuff of it like most people do. Most high-end agents love they know that that's a special custom $30,000 couch. They love that artist who has the two great modern, incredible paintings on the wall. I enjoy it. If I had a lot of time to sit around and read Architectural Digest and every, sort of tome on decorating, I would certainly do it. I interview a lot of designers and I enjoy it. I look at their books when I get them.
yeah.
But I do not do this because I love architecture or because I love homes or because I love landscaping. I do it because I love people and I love all people. I find them to be very interesting. The grumpier, the better. The little tiny Napoleon hedge fund guy who thinks he's so much smarter than me. I love to spar with that guy. And I love to get to the closing and have him say, thank you, or know deep down that he learned something from me. That's deeply satisfying.
I agree. I'm on the same page. I'm 100%. I agree with all of that. The four walls and the roof. I can tell you what to look for and what the flaws are, but I find the human psychology to be the most fascinating part of it, and how the couples interact with each other and they interact with me, and in navigating through this process and trying to figure out the other agent and what the seller actually needs or wants.
I also think people forget that so much of our work is actually not happy. So that's the other side of it. Everybody pictures the cute young couple with, one beautiful toe-headed toddler, another one on the way in front of the picket fence with their golden doodle. So happy, smiles so big their faces will break. And they think that's what we do all day long. And we do get to do that sometimes. And that's great. Wow. But we're often going in to price a house where if you're paying attention, you realize that maybe clothes are in different rooms and people are sleeping in different rooms, but the kids don't know yet, but maybe that marriage is crumbling. Yeah. Or there are quiet indicators that someone actually is maybe suffering an illness, but hasn't told anybody yet or whatever. We deal with people who are having a hard time dispossessing themselves of assets that mean a lot to them. All of the furnishings and the artwork that they grew up with in their parents' home, and now it's an estate. We do a lot that's hard. It's not all, happy, joy. It's a cute young couple, or it's some sexy celebrity landed in your lap and you sell some giant thing. That's the least of it. That's not the most of it.
That's true. Yeah.
Or you counsel people through the reality that they can't afford, at least in your community, they can't afford what their hopes were. And do you direct them elsewhere, or do you direct them to a different product? It's not all happy. No. But if you can ease it a little bit, if you can make it a little bit lighter and a little bit less heavy, I think you've done a great thing.
I agree. I think that's the perfect way to end cap this. This was, this was such a refreshing conversation. I really appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, I enjoyed it a lot. I feel badly. I'm sorry. I should have notes and be organized. I'm sure I'll think of a million things I should have said tomorrow. But
I think it was genuinely refreshing to just have such a candid and honest conversation with you. And it's nice to kind of cut through all of the things that we hear are supposed to be true about luxury or this and that. And it's just, it's genuinely nice to just have a grounded conversation.
Well, that's kind of you. I appreciate it. And I'm always happy to talk to anybody. Anytime I talk on a panel or whatever, I'm always email me, call me, ask a question. I'll tell you anything. I'm pretty easy that way.
And that goes to your point about the upper level. It's all about the collaboration.
Always. Are we going to get you back to Connecticut ever, Shawn Kunkler?
We can talk about it offline.
Okay.
I actually just found last night, I was laying in bed and I found a property and I was like, I'm like, Cielo, hey, what do you think of this one? And she's like,
all right. Well, we won't publicize that for your clients in San Francisco, but
yeah, we'll keep it on. I mean, the good thing is I can always fly back and forth and keep working.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But that's a wrap.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you. It was